Hey, you guys. Hi. Oh, I missed you, my babies. Hi. Hi. It's been so long since I have been on here. I have a whole new hairstyle. Honestly, I've had the hairstyle for a month. I have a hair appointment actually next week. That's how long it's been since I've been on here. But the people who know, I've been booed up. So I've been away, bada, boot up. Feelings. So deep in my feelings. Anyways. Hi. Oh, okay. Oh, wait. So let's get into it. Um, so the people who follow me like on different places know that there's like social justice Kim, okay? There's business Kim, there's pop culture obsessed Kim, and then there's also media Kim, right? I have known that I've wanted to work in media since I was really young, like when I was 9. My mom gave me an HTML book and I thought I'm gonna be a magazine editor, and I made my own mini magazine using HTML. Like, I love media, and that's why like this is the perfect job for me. And I'm super fascinated by media trends. And hi, oh, the compliments, so many compliments, you guys. Okay. I'm really fascinated by media trends, right? Because like this is the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. I love making stuff. I love making stuff for the internet. So I do really want to make sure I'm keeping up with what's going on. And I've been really fascinated by the rise, and I think we won't call it fall, but certainly plateau of Clubhouse. And so I thought that I would get in my media Kim bag and really go deep into what I've seen go wrong with Clubhouse, because I got invited to Clubhouse randomly by a follower in early July. So I joined in July of 2020 when there were 2,500 people on there, 3,000. It was just such a small community. And to see how it's gone, I think is really, really interesting. And I think now Clubhouse has 10, 11 million people on there. It's just been so wild. Um, oh, thank you, Artsy K. Clubhouse is such gutters, yes. I'm so happy I followed you on here. Literally my favorite content creator. Oh my gosh, thank you. Okay. Clubhouse still isn't open to the entire public. That's crazy. So let's talk about it, right? So like I mentioned, I got on Clubhouse in July 2020, and immediately I was obsessed with it. There were just so many interesting, thoughtful, frankly, powerful, super well-informed, knowledgeable people on there, just having like random conversations, just shooting the shit. Like, I was on there when there would like literally be 2 or 3 rooms at a time, sometimes 1 room at a time, when it was just literally like VC people and like random business people, like people connected, to each other, just like shooting the shit about business and family. Like, I used to go on there and just spill my guts. I used to get on there and spill my guts about like very intimate things because it was such a small community. And I remember, if patrons know, I talked about it on Patreon, and somebody asked me like, what's the next social app that's going to be big? Sorry, my little clip got broken, so I have to hold this. And I said, Clubhouse is fun. Like, I think Clubhouse is going to blow up because it's really, really fun. And it was really fun. And by the way, I've gotten connected to so many people from those early Clubhouse days that I never would have encountered in real life. I never would have encountered them, right? Like, we're 1 or 2 degrees of separation from each other. I just never would have. And that was when it was invite only. And then like you literally like were given like no invites. Like, it was so hard to get invites. And so I met a really good friend, my friend Ameka, who's a really good friend, who I'm trying to freaking, he works in VC, and I'm trying to freaking convince him to like make content with me. He's skittish, a high value man who just refuses. But we're really good friends. Just met just so many random people. I've invited people from Clubhouse onto For Harriet, and I really do appreciate that early time. But even early on, there were some issues with people clashing, harassment issues, racism issues, extremism cloaked as moderate discussion issues. Look, one of the primary, I think the main investor in Clubhouse is Andreessen Horowitz, right? And headed by Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz. And Mark Andreessen is problematic as fuck. He's fucking problematic. I mean, and I don't even really use the phrase problematic like that, the term problematic like that. But his views are extreme conservative in a way that easily veers into, he's a part of like the anti-woke crew. So it's so interesting that the biggest investor in Clubhouse was Andreessen Horowitz, Mark Andreessen, conservative Trump supporter, Ben Horowitz, loves hip hop and married a black woman, right? They use their cultural cachet to try to bring in all of these black, honestly, people of color cultural influencers. And that was what was trying to build up Clubhouse. Like, that is the kind of, FOMO that they were trying to build, like a cool factor that they were trying to build into it. But there were just some early issues. Okay. I had to report 2 transphobes last night. I believe it. Okay, so anyways. So there were genuinely thoughtful conversations. And even early on, like, I would have conversations about what I was doing at For Harriet and how I was making money. And I got so many interesting and thoughtful ideas about monetization and building the business. And I heard just so many great, if you saw the conversation I had with Jen, the woman who writes about conservative white women, I saw her on Clubhouse, just so many people. And I was in conversations with Steph, who is the head of community now. And we were going back and forth about making like a little private area for Harriet in the community, because I was talking to her about how I had this Patreon that's kind of big. And then we were going back and forth about it until one day she just like ghosted me. Like, I guess I'm just not like a big enough creator. But like, that is the direction that Clubhouse has gone in, right? Where they have moved away from kind of investing in, frankly, like, I think people who, they chose scale over thoughtfulness is basically what's happened to Clubhouse, right? And so it went from maybe 2,500 people, maybe 3,000 people in July. And then the snowball happened, right? Because that's what happens when you have an invite system, exponential growth, right? You give people invites and then they invite their friends and it's exponential. But when I got on, there really weren't a lot of black people. Like, there weren't. Like, it was an issue. And there certainly weren't a lot of American black people. Like, we can have that conversation about how anytime there is an elite space, right? I am the type of black person, right? Because I'm Black American, but I also have like elite credentials. But overwhelmingly, the kind of black people, ethnicity wise, that were in Clubhouse initially were overwhelmingly not Black American people. Overwhelmingly first generation, second. I thought that was really interesting. Honestly, I'm not ADOS. I mean, I am a descendant of American slaves, but I'm not associated with ADOS, so I don't really have a problem with that. But there is something to be said about that kind of stratification. So that was definitely a thing. And so they scaled really quickly until I think it was August, September, when there was an influx of black folks, like an influx of music industry black folks. Fadia got on. She's not black, but she invited so many. Isaac Hayes III was on. They invited so many music industry black people. So then Clubhouse really became about music industry conversations, which were, it's like, fine, it's just, but it was all black people who worked in the same like entertainment industries, New York, LA, Atlanta. They all knew each other, right? It was very insular still. I mean, that's what happens when you have an invite only app, right? It's going to be insular. People who know each other are going to invite each other on. Okay. And I was spending so much time. I was just like, because it's the height of the pandemic. The only people I'm talking to are in real life are my mom and my sister. My friends have to work. So it's like the only real social interaction. Oh God, it's getting. I tried a new lip gloss and it's looking real Tyrone Biggums. Okay, well we're gonna have to work with it. Let me see if I can make an adjustment. Why it's looking so ashy? Sorry, I'm gonna have to do something else. It's looking real. Do you need some help, ma'am? Let me dig in my purse to see if I have something else. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'm really digging deep. Oh, found it. I found the Fenty. Give me a second. You know, I tried to veer away from the Fenty, and it was like, girl, you need to come on back. Anyways, y'all know this is just us. It's just us. This channel is less, it's just it's relaxed, Kim. Okay, so anyways. Some of the lip glosses aren't really made for the brown girls, okay? I don't remember what brand that was. Anyway, let's keep going. So then by August, September, it was music industry, entertainment industry, Black people, but more like American Black people. And then there was an influx of Black people, like Fadia was bringing on lots and lots of people. Like for a while, the number of invites people were getting was maybe I had 3, 4, but I was a super user, so I was getting a lot. But then honestly, Fadia, who now works at Clubhouse, is responsible for so much of the influx of Black people. So much, right? And she used to be head of something at Instagram. She used to work at Instagram when she first started. And then there is the Black people snowball, right? So there's this idea that I always really resisted, that Clubhouse was getting this reputation for being white, VC led, and then they intentionally sought out Black people to diversify the user base. I don't believe that that's true at all. I think what happened was Black people came on, and Black people are super users of social media. And Fadia does work at Clubhouse now. Yes, she does. Black people came on. Black people are super users of social media. Then we did what we always do, which is stake out, literally. Then Joe Budden came on and all of this, right? And then there's the exponential growth thing that happens when you have an invite only system, and Black people, our social networks are overwhelmingly Black people. And so there's this explosion of growth, and then it's Black people. It's niggas. That's what happened. This narrative that Clubhouse was let's get the Blacks on to make it hot. No, Black people did what we always do and said, look, here's some new shit. Come join me on this new shit. That is what happened. That's how there was the Negro Explosion on Clubhouse. Okay. So then there's the Negro Explosion. Then it becomes why are there no non-Black people on the app? Then it's all of the rooms that are happening. There's so many more people. There's so many more rooms, but all of the rooms are Negro rooms, which, for better or for worse, because a lot of that stuff is shit that I don't fuck with. And then they introduced the private rooms feature, the social rooms feature, where it's only people who the moderator followers can come in. And that's when we get the non-Black flight. We'll say white flight. Once the Negro Explosion happened, then the non-black people would log onto the app and only see black people. And then they were like, what the fuck? And then Clubhouse introduced the private room feature, which I am 100% convinced that the private rooms feature was created so that the non-black people on Clubhouse, I mean, these are powerful people, right? Influential people, because you got an early invite to Clubhouse. They were like, oh, it's a lot of black people in the hallway. If you know how Clubhouse works, then you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of black people in the hallway. Whoa, I don't want to be on this app. So I am 100% convinced they introduced the private and social rooms feature to facilitate white flight, to facilitate that segregation. I'm 100%. Now, I do not project malintent onto the founders of Clubhouse, Paul and Rohan. I don't. That I actually do. That is 100% what happened. And so there is a period where there's the Negro Explosion, so many black rooms, and frankly, not the kind of Negro rooms that I want to. I'm not logging on. I went to a moan room or two, but that's not the shit, because for me, initially, Clubhouse really was a space to listen to interesting people talk about things, a space to meet new people, have random conversation, and then it transitioned. The transition was real. It was real. But that transition also, I also have to acknowledge that transition happened after there were a few different incidents where black women on Clubhouse. Look, I know the genealogy of this. I know the timeline of this because I spent my whole last summer there. There were a few incidents where black women on Clubhouse would get into these altercations. This was before the Negro Explosion. They were getting into these back and forths with conservative white men, libertarian white men, and it took on a tone that I understand why it made some of those black women uncomfortable. And so there was this back and forth about, is Clubhouse facilitating racism? There was no reporting mechanism for how to document if you had an interaction that you were uncomfortable with or you felt was racist or bigoted. It was just kind of a mess. And, that mess is precipitated by the fact that, a lot of these, conservative men, have fancy jobs, have connections, have whatever, right? So there's that. Okay. So then there's the Negro Explosion. And then that was when I was like, oh, it's gone. I remember thinking in September, October, November, oh, this is never going to get back. It's never going to get back on track. Because that's when it turned to, what do I need to do to get the biggest audience? And so what the founders of Clubhouse didn't, I don't know why they didn't anticipate it or they didn't plan for it, is going from maybe 3,000 in July to 600,000 in December. The floodgates are opened and the quality of conversations tanked, right? And so here's the thing about Clubhouse, right? The foundational and fundamental critique is that it's elitist. Yeah, it is. It, I think, just opened up to Android, if I saw correctly. It was iPhone only. People were literally like buying iPhones, using their iPads just to get on Clubhouse, right? And like, yes, elitism is bad. I think there are reasonable critiques of why it was so insular, why there was a time when I would log on to Clubhouse and like, I was like, oh, you went to Harvard too. Oh, you know my best friend. Oh, like, that's how I met, like, Emeka. Like, it was like, oh, why do we have 50 Facebook friends in common, right? Like, so elitism is bad, but curation is good. Curation is good. And actually, so much of our social media now relies on curation. What happened at Clubhouse was they were focused on scale, getting big, that there were no mechanisms available for curation. There were all of these conversations early on about when, the Negro Explosion happened, where the Black people would log on and be like, why am I only seeing these kinds of rooms? I don't want to see these kinds of rooms. I came on here to get business conversation. And it's like, because there's no, the algorithm was bullshit. Like, it was not an algorithm. Like, it wasn't. So it's just like, you're thrown, you walk into a void where there's dozens of rooms about shit you don't want to talk about. And it's like, I'm not interested in this. So the technology to facilitate being exposed to things that you would really be interested in, there was no meaningful way to at that point, they weren't investing in the people who I thought were bringing the most thoughtful, interesting conversations. Like I said, I got ghosted by Steph. I'm good at this. So the focus on getting scale, bringing on the biggest names, famous people who only pop up once, means that you lose the quality of conversations. This is hard. I feel like that's something that we are missing, right? In this audio boom, the democratization of tools that make broadcasting easier is a good thing. The idea that everybody can do this is just not true, though. It's hard to facilitate good conversations. It's hard to create interesting and innovative content formats. It's hard to be a good moderator. It's hard to do the personality thing and the juggling thing and the can I remember references thing. That's difficult. That requires real intentionality. And so really what was missed early on was you just have a bunch of people saying a bunch of shit and I don't care. Most people are boring, you guys. Most people are boring. The reason why we elevate people who are good at this, who are dynamic and interesting and thoughtful, is because most people can't do it. And so if there are no mechanisms for discovery, and no mechanisms, no intentional investment in saying, oh, you're good at this, make sure to stay here, then what you're gonna get is what Clubhouse has now, which is a bunch of people saying shit that nobody wants to listen to. So anyway, it's just very fascinating. And Clubhouse was valued at $100 million in May of last year, right? They got that first influx of cash. And then in January of this year, they were valued at $1 billion. And then last month, they got valued at $4 billion, right? Because they keep getting these huge influxes of cash, which I've talked to different VC people about it. It's basically like, at this point, VC is just a Ponzi scheme, right? And it's just a Ponzi scheme because Clubhouse is not doing well. It has a lot of money, but let me look at this. I just looked. So according to Morning Brew, in January, the downloads for Clubhouse were 2.4 million. In February, there's a huge explosion, right? Where it went international. The downloads were 9.6 million. In March, the downloads were 2.7 million. In April, the downloads were 922,000. Clubhouse has a retention problem because they have a talent problem. It's very rare. Again, I like white noise. So I actually am logged on to Clubhouse a lot because I like white noise. I just like to listen to noise in the background because I'm by myself all day. But there's very few stuff where I'm like, oh my God, I have to listen. No. I think the most interesting conversation really that I have seen recently was a week or two ago. And it was music video directors, Little X, well, he goes by Director X, Anthony Mandler, a couple of other music video directors talking about the process of making music videos. Now, that's something that you do not have access to anywhere else. But you cannot build a a unicorn off of one conversation once a week. You can't. And I still have 17 invites, right? Because I like stopped inviting people because I could see the quality going down. People don't want invites. It used to be, oh my God, like I want to get on Clubhouse. Like, how can I do it? How can I get on? I can't give those 17 invites away. People don't, in my circle, they don't want them. It has a bad reputation. They've had all of these anti-Semitism incidents, racial harassment incidents, right? Bad reputation. They have, the back and forth with Taylor Lorenz and all of that. There's a stigma now. And this is the thing about chasing scale, right? I understand that when you're taking money, this is why I've never taken money for Harriet. I understand that when you're taking money, you have to get as big as possible because people want their money back. But they didn't come up with a good enough strategy about how you're going to get people to invest long term. The world is open, girl. The world is okay. I'm out in the streets. I'm out with my boo. Okay, I'm out with my friends and family. What is going to bring me back to Clubhouse? All right. So, okay. So what I was also going to say is now, right, because Clubhouse has this bad reputation, if you look, the rooms that are overwhelmingly there are stuff that just feels super unuseful and scammy. It's crypto rooms. I know crypto is not a scam. I'm not getting into that, but it's very niche, okay? It is for the get rich quick people. That's who's into crypto right now. It's NFT rooms, which I do believe is a scam. It's the random get rich quick on social media rooms with somebody like a Grant Cardone, who is a legitimately rich person but also gives big scammer energy. It's all of those people who I'm I don't want to, this is not, I have a real business. You know what I'm saying? I'm a legitimate person. I'm not listening to this. But I will say though, what I will give, I did get into investing because of Clubhouse last year. I will say that. And I got some good picks and I'm doing very well. So, back in the old days, it was a site where you could get some solid. It's just not that. But also, talking about the investing in talent portion, as I mentioned, I got ghosted, which is actually fine, right? I'm actually really grateful. Let me just tell y'all, right? I was a little pissed about, when I first got ghosted by the head of community at Clubhouse. I am so grateful for that now. Because there was a time when I was thinking about investing in a full-on Clubhouse strategy. I hooked up with Aya, who is just so brilliant in a PhD program, and Joe, and we were going back because they were also really heavy on Clubhouse. I don't see them anymore. They're gone. Two incredibly brilliant young Black women. I think they're both in graduate school. And we were going to work through, what's the Clubhouse strategy going to be? What kind of rooms do I want for Harriet to have? And, outlining, and we were collaborating and resources and what's the format going to be. Eventually, I told them, I actually don't think I want to go forward with this. I don't think Clubhouse is the place where I want to invest my time. It's not going to be worth it. But also, I could tell where it was headed. Now, that's not to say that there are not still brilliant people on Clubhouse. Occasionally, I will just, wander into a room with some brilliant Black people saying really interesting, thoughtful things, having really good discussions. But the thing is, what really irks my soul is to see really brilliant, interesting, thoughtful Black people, frankly, have to go back and forth with people who don't know nothing. That irks my fucking soul. I can't. That's why I don't do that. I've gotten on one stage in the past 4 months. I don't do it Because my time is not best spent arguing with people who don't know nothing. It's not. It's not. And it's become such an incubator for the ADOS people, which is just like xenophobic black conservatism. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. That's what it is. So much space to incels. There are legitimately anti-Semitic conversations. Obviously, I'm not Jewish. I mean, not obviously, there are black Jews. But people be saying wild stuff about Jewish people on there. Wild stuff. And then try to couch it in, well, you know, Jewish people and black people. And it's like, I understand. But there is an anti-Semitism problem. The same way that there was a white supremacy problem when they had no problem with like a man coming on there who has a long history of writing obviously white supremacist blog posts, who was so racist that he got banned from Twitter, but still had a platform on Clubhouse to talk about why Africans made the best slaves. It's like, what are y'all trying to... And then the other thing about the harassment problem is, you know, they make this big show about, okay, you said something anti-Semitic, you've said something misogynistic or anti-black woman. Okay, this person is banned. It is so easy. Do you know how many times there's this one man that I've seen get banned like 3 or 4 times? He just pops up with a new account. Literally same day, pops up with a new account. Like, what are we even doing here? It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I just feel like fun, you know, the fun thing, I think really, and also I will say, you know, Twitter Spaces popped off. And I remember when, you know, there was the which is gonna succeed Clubhouse for Twitter Spaces debate. And one thing I will say about Twitter Spaces is, and I think maybe it's because of the people that I follow, because Twitter Spaces are shown to you based on who you follow that starts a room or is in a room. But if we're just talking about the quality of conversations over the past month, the consistent quality of the conversations that I've seen on Twitter Spaces far exceeds the quality of stuff that I've seen on Clubhouse. Also, you know, with regard to the investment and discoverability thing, it's really interesting to me that when it comes to these new platforms, I think one thing that people are interested in is, oh my gosh, this is my opportunity. This is my chance to have a voice in a space where I wouldn't necessarily have a voice. You know, Facebook is old, YouTube is old, TikTok is, I mean, it's relatively difficult to like start from scratch, right? So on a new platform, you can start from scratch, you can grow quickly. What I found to be so interesting is how the same people, so many of the same people who have power and a huge voice everywhere else have suddenly been propelled intentionally by Clubhouse to have huge voices on Clubhouse, right? So there are people who are like new people like Bomani, right? Like huge star, Clubhouse. But if you look at the top 50 or top 100 most followed accounts on Clubhouse, overwhelmingly it's people who are already powerful. Rich, famous, powerful, people who don't even be on the app, people who don't even make rooms. Because what Clubhouse does is when you join, it gives you a list of people that you want to follow. So they just reproduced the same inequality, the same tech bros, the same famous people who never log on. It's like the same. That's not compelling. It's not. And then we also have, you know, recently there was this big story about, you know, the NYU tech girls roasting, no, the NYU girls, hot NYU girls roasting tech guys, right? Like that was a big Clubhouse show hit. And it's so interesting because it used to be called shoot your shot, right? And the shoot your shot idea was obviously originated by Black women, where it was pretty Black women, or, ambiguous women, would open a room and get on stage, and then men would cash app them or whatever, or talk about how they gonna fly you to Dubai or whatever, right? Like 100%, like a format that was started by Black women. And then people have been giving, thank you. And then the NYU girls came, and then they created their own shoot your shot room to, talk to the nerdy tech guys who don't have women. And then that room became like a hit. It blew up, and so many people were talking about it, and so many people were tweeting this is the most interesting thing I've ever seen on Clubhouse. And then Steph, who ghosted me, let's remember. Something I am saying, I'm gonna name the names. I remember her deeply investing in it and tweeting them and connecting, and they got their club made and all of that. And then after that, there was they stole this idea, so then they had to change the name and all of that. And there's been so much poured into those girls. And now, just recently, those girls, there's 6 of them, they've now signed to a talent agency. So that's the first official Clubhouse for real success story, is these girls who started this room because they're conventionally attractive, and they're not all white. There's probably a mixed girl in there, and an Asian girl and an Indian girl in there. And they now signed to a talent agency. So again, when we're talking about the reproduction of existing hierarchies, it's just fascinating that there was this huge Negro boom, which is really when people started tweeting about Clubhouse, and celebrities started talking about it on Instagram, and people were join me on Clubhouse. And that does facilitate a certain kind of momentum around the app. And then there has to be an adjustment, because the Clubhouse people are okay, how do we, okay. But then the first people who are able to really have the first inklings of transitioning into a legitimate career, a mainstream entertainment legitimate career, are those girls. That's interesting to me. All right. What else do I have on here? Oh yeah, okay, I already talked about, now the conversations are overwhelmingly about lowest hanging fruit. For me, here's the other thing for me as a person who makes a very good living making content, and why I choose not to make rooms or deeply invest. There's no return. So on Clubhouse for the longest time. Okay, so I remember one thing that I will give to Paul and Rohan, the founders of Clubhouse, is since the beginning, or since a few months in, they've been doing these weekly town halls where they sit down, or they get on stage on Clubhouse and talk about what's going on and what are the issues and what are the questions people have. And they were really trying to build a genuine community. They didn't know how to do it, but they were really trying to do it. And I remember during the peak, probably January, February, where that town hall room would be absolutely full. It would be so full that you would have to have an overflow room. It's really fascinating to me that no, it's not. There's a few thousand people in there. It doesn't reach the capacity. The interest is just not there as much. But for me, as a person who makes content for a living and recognizes that creating good content requires an investment. It requires time, forethought, planning. If I am inviting people in, I'm often paying people. When, a great Clubhouse room has 2,000 people in it, that's exceptional. That's top 1%. If you're doing really well, you get 1,000 people in it at a time. Generally, if you're you can get 500 people at a time. why would I invest time and energy into having 500 people in a room that you can't archive? It's very, very difficult to record, when I can hop on here, have 250 people, put it on YouTube, get 30,000 people, monetize that, or put it on, do Patreon, where I make a lot of money, right? Where those people are investing in, it doesn't make sense. There's no easy way to record. If I know that ephemerality, the fact that it's there and it's gone, that is supposed to entice people to come, but people have lives. I have something to do. So the investment is just not worth it when there's no way to repurpose that content. That is actually why I love to do this. If you notice, right? I make one thing, and then that one thing becomes like 5 different pieces of content. That one thing goes on YouTube, and then you clip it for Instagram, and then you clip it for TikTok, and then somebody clips it for Twitter. Okay, because time is finite. So if you don't have discoverability, there's no way to repurpose it. There's no easy way to record. The audio quality is still not great. There's no curation. The people who I would most want to run toward, to having an ephemeral conversation, don't be on there like that. What is the draw? Okay. And Twitter Spaces is now doing spaces you have to buy tickets for. Yeah. Twitter, so I will give Clubhouse is that, we're in a very creator-friendly economy, which is great. Great for me, great for you, great if you want to have a voice. So, Clubhouse has done their creator, basically incubator program, where they're going to give, 20 people, 60 people, $5,000 a month to make stuff, which, I guess is good. I guess that's good, but I will tell you, you can make $5,000 a month, right? If you commit, it's good, but it's not great. They have, early on jumped on the investing in creators thing. And I do appreciate that Clubhouse has pushed Twitter. I think Clubhouse also pushed Instagram to create the feature where you can have multiple people talking at once. I love that. That's great. That's why, competition in the business sense is a good thing, because people are, there's an arms race with regard to who can pay creators more. How can we have the most interesting interactive features for creators? That's good. It's still not. Okay. Kim, do you still do one-on-one consultations? I might bring it back. Okay. Anyways, I said all that to say that the $4 billion valuation is absurd. VC is a Ponzi scheme anyway. Right? There's no pathway to monetization. But that's not the biggest deal, right? Amazon wasn't profitable for a long time. Twitter just became really profitable. The no pathway to monetization is not the biggest deal. It's just what are you going to do to get out of it? Because I'm addicted to being on social media. It's my job, but it's also my compulsion. If somebody like me, who loves to just be on, is this is it, then you have problems. I'm the prime demographic. It's me. If I'm you got some problems. You got some issues. Yeah. Oh, and I also didn't mention how Clubhouse now is out of the top 200, right? We know that the downloads have plummeted. It's out of the top 200 downloads on the iTunes store. I think it's like 32, 33 on the top free social media apps. I think that's really interesting. And I just decided that, any of the time and sorry, I'm getting stuffed up as I always do. The time and effort that I would have put on Clubhouse, like, why don't I just put that on Instagram? Why don't I just put that on Patreon for the members? Why don't I just do it elsewhere on YouTube? Like, there's nothing unique to Clubhouse that makes it be like, oh, this is the only platform where I can do that. All right. Any other thoughts? The draw is a space where non-experts can sound like experts. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's no way to say this without sounding elitist, right? But there is a clear difference between people who are knowledgeable and thoughtful and legitimate versus people who want to appear knowledgeable and thoughtful and legitimate. And you know it when you see it. Because sometimes as a person who makes content, I see people on there doing the social media rooms and doing the how to make money rooms and doing the how to grow your following rooms. And there was a time when there were legitimate people on there giving advice on how to grow your YouTube, how to grow your Instagram, how to do Instagram reels, like real people who are really doing it, who were either managers or creators themselves. And I would pop in those rooms and get like really good ideas. Now it's just like, people who have 500 followers talking about what they think works. That is scamming to me. I'm sorry, that's scamming. It scams to me. It scams. How you gonna tell me how to do something that you haven't done? If the advice is so good, why haven't you done it? I don't understand. How you gonna tell me how to get 100,000 followers when you have 2,000? And I'm not trying to be an asshole about it. I'm genuinely curious. How you gonna tell me how to get rich quick when you're not rich? Anyways. Do you think that Clubhouse is salvageable? Sure. I don't have the answers. But I think it's, because people thought at one point that Twitter was unsalvageable and they've been able to come back, right? So anyways, thank you, Brandies. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Jada. Thank you, Kenyan Girl Magic. Appreciate y'all. I can barely keep up with books, podcasts, and YouTube. Clubhouse couldn't keep my attention, and I had limited time. The other thing I can't stand is these accountability rooms. How can people you've never met hold you accountable? Yeah, that's the other thing. We have to be honest. I've talked about this elsewhere. We have to be honest that what we're seeking is not accountability, right? You want punishment. You want spectacle. Let me get my water because I'm really stuffed up. My sister finds Twitter to be stupid. Yeah, different people can. Okay, somebody else. Thank you, AK Black. Appreciate y'all. And those accountability rooms are always directed at certain people and never others. Yeah, like that's kind of the new thing on here. I mean, on there. The spin-off rooms. The spin-off from the spin-off from the spin-off. Now, let me tell you, as a person who likes mess, there's been a couple of good mess rooms recently, okay? But that's like Jerry Springer, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, you know, the Steve Wilkos show or whatever. It's not good content. You watch it because it's fun to watch people be messy. Or you listen to it because it's fun to listen to people be messy. But it's not like, you know, it's shit that you will be embarrassed to talk about. Can you build a business off of that? Maybe. Right? Like Reddit did. You know, right? But there's no, like, what kind of business do you want to build? Do you want to build a business that's viewed as credible and legitimate? Or do you want to build a business that's more-y? Also, finding local content on Clubhouse is hard. Yes, there's no discoverability. Yeah. That's a big thing. Like being able to say, I like this, show me rooms about this. After a big story breaks, right? And being able to say, oh, I want to hear somebody talk about Issa Rae's big deal. Because that's how people get big on YouTube, right? Like, it's the algorithm. Because YouTube is just a big search engine. That's why all kinds of people can build huge audiences. Is because if you get the right keywords in the title, then YouTube will help people find you. There's not that. I've been on for a little over a week, and it's just misogynoir by black men. Yes. The black incels have found a breeding ground. They found a congregation site. Absolutely. Stuff that I would never, these are people I would never come across anywhere else. That just gets served up to me. That's interesting. That's fascinating. You know, hearing men scream about bitches and why y'all getting abortions and God hates abortion. You're fucking embarrassing your sons. You fucking whores on OnlyFans. That's shit that I've never come across in my other than Clubhouse life. Never. It's very prominent on Clubhouse. Totally. I was in a room the other day that had 1,000 people, which is a very big room for Clubhouse, where it was black men yelling about how black women are disobeying God by getting abortions. Yelling. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say about that. The nuclear family, yeah. TikTok is kind of good at that too. I really thought following people I like would reflect on the rooms I saw, but nope. No, and it's also because, you know, like I mentioned, like the most interesting people don't really make rooms a whole lot. The rooms that they make are private room. Like, you know, because I was an early adopter / early invitee, a lot of people follow me. So I do have access to a lot of like private rooms and social rooms that you're not going to get access to if you join later, because those people don't want to have public rooms. They don't. They are big on the, yes, they're very big on, you know, I was in a room yesterday that had a room on in the background about how, you know, we need to discourage single parent households. We need to punish them. There needs to be social consequences. And I wanted to be like, there are already enormous social consequences for being a single mother. Like, where do y'all live? What world do y'all live in where single mothers don't face social penalty? I'm like, this don't even make It don't even make sense. What are y'all saying? Y'all think y'all gonna be able to shame people into getting, because y'all been trying to do that for 50 years. It's not working, hun. It's not working. So why are we having the same conversations about this? You know, and then it's people who are like, oh, I'm tired of talking about problems. I'm tired of talking about problems. Let's talk about solution. And I'd be like, but you can't even accurately name the problem though. But your assessment of what the problem is wrong because y'all don't know nothing. Y'all don't be reading. Y'all don't consult experts. Y'all don't consult organizers or activists, people on the ground. You know, y'all just be referencing the Bible. And I'm like, that's not going to do it, hun. I keep saying hun because I've been listening to Poor Minds. That's not going to get it, baby. And so I am not spending any of my time going back and forth with somebody who gonna quote the Bible to me. Excuse me, I have family for that. Okay, if I want to go back and forth about what the Bible says, I'll just call my mom. If they love women, why would they wish for their lives to be harder than it already is? They want more consequences. Okay. Okay. We're done here. We're done because I literally have like 3 other videos. Like literally, you guys, I'm going to be back later to talk about Billy. And then I'm going to be on Patreon to talk about glitch feminism. Look, Kimberly is back, okay? Guess who's back, okay? Because I did take that month off and it was a good month. It was a month filled with like, you know, like gazing and like cuddling and like dates and like holding hands. But, you know, I'm not going to be that girl. I'm not going to be the girl who, you know, just disappears. I have so many content ideas. So I will see you later. Bye. Oh, I love my job. I really love to do this, you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later.